dawn over Tel Aviv shimmered the way it always did, an apricot haze above electric blue water, sand the color of burnt honey, and above that, an invisible embroidery of radio waves. Anyone with the right implants could see the embroidery. Rippling membranes of 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, shot through with chatting electrons, streaming movies, frantic text messages. But even those implants could not see the couriers that bore those waves. They were called seraphim, though they had little in common with the six-winged behemoths of Scripture. These were microscopic, smaller than a pollen grain. They looked, under extremely unforgiving magnification, like polyhedral snowflakes made of pearl and lightning. Their wings were concentric ridges that vibrated to carry data packets. Billions hatched in the ionized air above the Mediterranean every dawn, rode the onshore breeze, and spread through the city, each one ferrying a few bits. By midnight, most burned out like spent sparks and drifted into the drains, replaced before sunrise. Everyone in Tel Aviv knew about them, no one thought about them. They were as mundane as pigeons, except to Dr. Uri Nadav. Uri was the kind of cybersecurity engineer who could explain elliptic curve cryptography in a nightclub bathroom at 3 a.m. and make you care. He worked for Ballista 7, a boutique security firm with a moss-walled co-working loft just off Rothschild Boulevard. Ballista 7 software defended banks, hospitals, synagogues, and quietly, the Ministry of Defense. For weeks, Uri had been whittling at a new product, Firefall. A firewall so aggressive, it didn't merely repel malicious packets, it stung them, inverted them, and fired them back like poisoned arrows. The design was beautiful, efficient, and, in Uri's opinion, righteous. He wanted to debut it that very Friday, the last workday before the festival of Shavuot. CEOs paid double for divine metaphors. Thursday evening he stayed late, alone, the Mediterranean breeze rattling the window louvers. He clicked compile. The lights dimmed as the server rack gulped power. His monitor displayed a chunky progress bar. Hardening meekit analysis layers 12%, 37%, 78%. Outside, hundreds of thousands of seraphim flowed through the WeWork ventilation grills, on their way to routers and phone. At 78%, Firefall activated a tiny routine called EchoSmite. It didn't appear in the white papers. The routine fired nanosecond bursts of ultra-high-frequency microwave static, just enough to coil around incoming packets and brand them with a timestamp. But seraphim were the medium as well as the mailman. The static seared them. The first seraph to make contact disintegrated in the ductwork like flash paper. A dozen more followed in a sparkling shoal. The air smelled faintly of singed cilantro. Uri's laptop hummed, happy. He got a ping from his phone, throughput stable, latency 17. Killer. He grinned, washed his coffee mug and went home to his apartment near Dizengoff, dreaming of venture capital. That night, seraphim across half the city felt the ripples. They were not conscious the way humans were, but centuries of human prayer had given them a communal reflex. A bruise upon one was a bruise upon all. Microscopic conscience tightened. They folded their crystalline wings. They conferred in vibration and scent and probability, and they declared, with the implacable logic of insects and angels both, that they would strike. Friday, 6:42 a.m. Tel Aviv awoke to phones like dead birds. No push alerts, no maps, no ride shares. Restaurant POS terminals flickered to grey. Electric scooters refused to unlock. 23,000 remote employees discovered local copies of Figma were pretty but useless. A trickle of panic ran down Rothschild like spilled espresso. Uri, bleary-eyed, rolled over and saw 4 bars of cellular voice service miracle, but 0 Wi-Fi. His smart kettle wouldn't boil. His smart door latch gripped its bolts like clenched teeth, requiring a manual override he'd forgotten about. He dressed in the dark, cursing IoT evangelists, and sprinted to Ballista 7. Outside, entire families leaned from balconies, waving phones like talismans. Gadget gurus on Channel 12 speculated about state-level jamming. A rumor spread that Hamas had hacked every router. Someone else blamed the Mossad. A DJ at 8:88 a.m. begged listeners, if any still had LTE, to tweet the hashtag Tel Aviv Dark. Ballista 7's lobby was slick as ever, yet the receptionist's screen was dark. Uri took the stairs 2 at a time. On the 7th floor, co-founder Danny Greenblatt hunched over a whiteboard, graphing scribbles like a mad meteorologist. "Everything outside Firefall's subnet is down," Danny said without greeting. "Inside, pristine. We're the lone island." He slapped a post-it note showing their logo haloed by skulls. "Hardware failure at Bezic?" Uri guessed. 10 separate ISPs report total Wi-Fi collapse, fiber's fine, Ethernet's fine, only radio. Whole spectrum's empty. Empty. Uri felt a prickle under his jaw, as though some leftover spark from last night still clung to his beard. He unlocked the server closet. Firefall's LED halo glowed emerald. Packet logs scrolled in 3-dimensional waterfall graphs. Attackers repelled. Spoofed addresses smothered. Beautiful. But every arrow that left Firefall vanished. No handshake came back. Beyond the office mesh network was sheer silence. He opened the system's raw RF monitor and gasped. The usual froth of 802.11 frames should have filled the screen like rain on a tin roof. Instead, a desert, a Hertz-level Sahara. Now and then a lone packet flitted and died, like mayflies or angels. "Uri?" Danny asked. "Why does the city smell like burnt cilantro?" Uri thought of the whiff in the air duct last night, and of something his grandmother used to murmur at sunset prayers. "Malachim hum tva'otav, the angels are his hosts." He pivoted. "I need the microscope." Ballista 7 owned a forensic lab for examining hardware Trojans. It contained an ion beam cutter, $500,000 of spectrographic stuff, and crucially, a digital holographic microscope with a sample stage the size of a fingernail. Uri swabbed dust from the floor vent beside Firefall, smeared it on a slide, and slid it in. The monitor populated with pearly polyhedra, riddled with scorch marks. "Dear God," Danny whispered. "Seraphim? Aren't they supposed to be indestructible?" "Not indestructible," Uri said, throat dry. "Just never targeted before." He zoomed until each facet gleamed like a temple eve. Hairline fissures webbed the wings. "I killed them. Only some. Enough to start a general strike," Uri said. It sounded insane. But the evidence pixel shifted right there. Micro-angels on the picket line. The how was clear. The why choose now to withhold service deliberately was less so. Were Seraphim capable of malice? Theology suggested yes and no. They were pre-moral, lightning with a heartbeat, but maybe expectation changed the expected. A city believed, so its carriers believed too. "Reverse it," Danny said. "Firefall's codebase is 30,000 lines." "You wrote it." "It's not that simple." The intercom buzzed. The Ministry of Communications had arrived with uniformed techs and a lot of questions. Uri ducked into the restroom, locked the door, and opened a command window on his tablet. Firefall pulsed on the network map like an emerald star. He had maybe 10 minutes before the government demanded the keys. If he surrendered them, they would shut Firefall off. Would that soothe the Seraphim or look like cowardice? And if he didn't, Tel Aviv might riot by lunchtime. He needed to talk to them, possible. Except he'd built the weapon that hurt them. Perhaps he could also build a phone to call them. The Seraphim's auditory range spanned terahertz, light as sound. They conversed by modulating the very photons they ferried. Uri assembled a crude speaker from a laser pointer married to a phase shifter array. He coded a message in base 64, slowed it 1,000,000-fold, and flashed it out the window in arrhythmic pulses. "I am the one who burnt you. Sorry." "Talk." "Nothing obvious happened." Down on the boulevard, cyclists swore at dead navigation apps. A drone delivery firm tried to revert to walk-ups, clogging the sidewalks with insulated backpacks. Someone graffitied Wi-Fi equals wife. We don't deserve her onto a bus shelter. Ori paced. Seraphim had no egos to stroke, no union boss to placate with espresso. But perhaps they could be bribed with beauty. They carried memes and music every day. Maybe they loved the cargo. He opened a 320 kilobit file of Judith Ravitz singing Boy Carla. He piped the audio into the laser, amplitude modulated. The ancient Sabbath hymn spilled across rooftops as invisible flicker. A minute later, the air in the lab cooled, or rather, shimmered. A cloud of motes drifted through the vent, reorganized, and projected a hologram in front of him. A single seraph, scaled up to the size of a cat. Its wings were kaleidoscopes, its eyes twin apertures tunneling into ultraviolet infinity. The voice was like plucked piano wire inside his skull. "We are a cadmiol," it said. "One of 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Why do you scold our kinfolk?" Yuri's knees went watery. He'd negotiated with ransomware gangs in Belarus. He'd never talked with an angel. He swallowed. "I was ignorant. Firefall was designed to poison malicious packets. I never realized the packets rode you." A pause, full of glacial calculus. "Ignorance is no shield." The seraph's facets cracked like icebergs, raw pain made visible. "We have borne your songs, your cries for mercy, your lovers' quarrels, your gifts of dancing llamas. We ask little, space to soar, quiet between frequencies, occasional rain of sea salt to cool our wings. You gave us pain." The lab door rattled. "Hurry, open up! Government's here with a warrant," Uri whispered to the hologram. "What will end the strike? Recompetence, safety, recognition. Define." A pane of light opened beside Cadmiel, listing clauses like bullet points. 1. Cessation of hostile emissions ecomite. 2. Public acknowledgement of the Seraphim as co-laborers. 3. Designated rest frequencies between 5.7 and 5.74 gigahertz. Unmodulated. 4. Monthly offering of music. Unspun. Lossless. Uri blinked. "You basically want weekends and health insurance." "Health is an echo of the holy," Cadmiel said. "Done, if you restore service at once. Service will resume when cities keep faith." Uri reached for his tablet. Danny burst in with 2 officials. "Uri, they're threatening nationalization." "Give me 5 minutes," he pleaded. The officials raised eyebrows at the floating polyhedron, uncrossed himself. Uri disabled Echosmite and inserted code to carve out a 40M Hammer Guard Band Angelic Shabbat. He added a cron job to broadcast a FLAC playlist every Rosh Chodesh. He titled the patch, Nose of Consolation, V1. He hit deploy. Firefall's LEDs reflashed blue. Cadmiel's wings brightened. Thus spoken. Then the hologram collapsed into dust. The dust into nothing. 10 seconds later, tablets chirped like hungry gulls. Wi-Fi icons relit across every phone on the floor, then across the street, the district, the city. Tweets blossomed. Fryers in falafel joints synced with booking apps. Taxis recalculated fares. Students downloaded lecture slides as if gulping water after a fast. A map on Danny's screen traced the outage's retreat. It looked like the tide. The officials exhaled in stereo. One muttered, "Miracle or sedition, either way. File the paperwork." Shavuot night. Tel Aviv's beaches thronged with barbecues. Children chased drones strung with LED vines. Above them, hidden to most, billowed freshly hatched seraphim, sparkling like shaken soda. On the balcony of Ballista 7, Uri placed a Bluetooth speaker and cued a playlist he'd curated. Debuyu Preludes, Yemenite Peyutium, a nigun recorded on wax cylinder in 1913, and a live bootleg of Ovrahaza that still made him cry. The speaker uplinked to the office router. The rotor's 5 gigahertz antenna pulsed. The guard band remained silent, a meadow of rest. Seraphim congregated there by the millions, wings folded. Listening. Uri tipped a small jar of sea salt into the wind. The grains glittered like lost constellations and dissolved. Danny joined him with 2 beers. You realize we just signed a labor contract with angels. Co-laborers, Uri corrected. Think they'll unionize? They already did. That's what a strike is. Will they ever forgive us? On the edge of hearing, just below tinnitus, just above imagination, Uri sensed a chord, sixfold and serene. I think they just did, he said. For a week, the story stayed inside Tel Aviv, quirky, parochial like the city's blown glass art or its startup scandals. Then a journalist from Wired published, when Wi-Fi went on strike, photos of charred micro-angels ran worldwide. Cities from Seoul to Sao Paulo demanded audits. Microscopes trembled to life. Everywhere, across skyscrapers and villages, people began noticing the shimmer in the air that carried their voices. A new etiquette emerged. Routers shipped with Seraph-safe modes. Companies scheduled bandwidth siestas at dawn. Spotify launched an offering channel, lossless tracks curated for beings of light. The IETF convened a working group on angelic transport protocols. Not everyone obeyed. A venture fund in San Francisco tried to weaponize Seraphim as autonomous honeypots. The Pacific Seaboard of North America spent a 72-hour weekend offline. They obeyed after that. Theologians argued whether the Messianic age had begun or whether capitalism had merely discovered new workers to exploit. So Seraphim did not comment. They carried. Uri emailed Kadmal once a month via amplitude-modulated starlight, embedding a summary of security updates and a poem always a poem. Replies came as subtle improvements in network latency, milliseconds shaved like curls of wood. That was enough. One humid night at 3 a.m., while stress testing an Indonesian banking network, Uri paused to watch packets flow in Firefall's visualizer. They leapt from node to node like fireflies. Every 10th packet traveled slower, as if borne on a palanquin. Within those packets were the poems, mirrored back, fractalized, returned as riddles. He realized then that the city was not silent before technology, it was singing with it. The Seraphim were not servants, nor overlords, but choir. Outside the horizon blushed lavender. Dawn would birth another brood of microscopic snowflakes. They would lift into the apricot light and carry the world's gossip, grief, and small glorias. Uri powered down the monitors, stepped onto the balcony, and felt the sea breeze against his eyelids. In that hush, he heard the rustle of crystalline wings. A rustle like rain falling upward, and thought, so, this is what it means to share the air.